You know what I hate?
What?
Sand.
Fuck. I was going to start with that.
I know, that's why I did cut you to it. Star Wars, Attack of the Clones. So actually, before we get started, so this week we're on Attack of the Clones, if you can't tell by the bottom thumbnail.
Yeah.
We're almost through the prequels.
We're halfway through.
We're halfway through all of it, yeah.
I also wanted to mention that this is actually the 20th anniversary of Attack of the Clones.
Oh, really?
Well, we're off by one day. It came out May 16th, 2002, and we're May 17th, 2022.
Really?
So it's pretty much exactly 20 years ago.
Wow.
And we didn't plan it that way. It just kind of happened.
If they had known that there'd be a podcast someday in a Chevy S10.
Yeah.
I mean, they'd just be like...
And also, I'm not going to be celebrating this movie, so... Anyway.
So it's a good call.
All right, so here's my prediction for the movie, written before I'd watched any Star Wars. This is the movie where we are introduced to Jar Jar Binks.
No.
He says the line, Misa Jar Jar Binks, who the hell are you?
Jar Jar swears in your...
I guess so. So actually, I'll explain where that comes from after. But more formally known as Mr. Binks, Jar Jar is a side character.
He's a side character, but he's the only thing
Side character and pops up from time to time for comedic relief. I wasn't too far off of that. Not in this movie, but Bubba Fett, the next evil villain. Wow. But not partnered with Darth Maul. Okay, is scary and has a nice pistol-type gun.
I have something to say about that gun at one point.
There is a giant war in the desert where many stormtroopers fight in and are what the clones are meant by in the title of the movie, because tens of thousands of them go out to battle.
Sort of.
Anakin isn't really in this movie.
I wish he wasn't in this movie.
That's it?
That's all I wrote.
Well, not terribly off. I mean, the Jar Jar Binks stuff is crazy.
Yeah, hold on. You have to explain the Jar Jar Binks. You said you had an explanation for it.
So, my reasoning was, so my brother watched these movies. So in 2002, I would have been about 12.
Okay.
Well, I would have been exactly 12, sorry. And I couldn't remember if it was the 99 or 2002 or when was the next one?
2005.
2005. I couldn't remember which one of those movies my brother went to see, but I remember him coming back from the movies and he was telling me like this funny character, Jar Jar Hunt. I think he was a kid too at that time. So he said the line, Mr. Jar Jar Binks, who the hell are you? And we both laughed at that so hard.
Okay.
And
He improv'd a bit.
yeah, I mean, my brother's known for improvising his stories. So am I, apparently. But, yeah. So I've been thinking a lot, and just, like, what do I look for in a movie, and when I watch a movie and I see it and I call it bad, like, what are those characteristics? Mm-hmm. So why don't you guys, like, we'll just kind of talk through, like, what makes a good movie? Like, what are the elements you'd like to see in a good movie?
I mean, just to keep it brief, because I could go on about this.
Yeah.
But it also depends on the type of movie you're watching.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to judge like a drama the same I would like Star Wars, or a comedy the same way. When I judge Star Wars, I'm judging it as like an action adventure fantasy movie, and also comparing it to the original trilogy. And what I look for is good visual effects / action, story structure, character. There's other things too, but broadly, it's those three things.
Okay. What about you?
I guess like Kyle said, there's things that I look for in different movies. Like a lot of like movies like Marvel movies, it's just literally for entertainment. So it's if I can kind of like shut down and just watch it, but I'd say my bare minimum is that there's nothing in there that's immersion breaking for me.
Oh, okay. Wow,
That's probably what it is. But I mean, there are movies that I hold kind of to a higher standard, or things that I understand make movies better. So, I mean, things that Kyle has mentioned before about like showing, not telling. Things like he mentioned it in the last episode, like Chekhov's gun. Like
Set up and payoff.
That's like a good storytelling element.
That story structure. That's what I mean when I say that, set up payoff.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, like, there are movies like that. I guess it's just kind of like, why am I watching a movie that will kind of quantify my standards that I hold to a movie? So it's like, It's like if I get home from work and I just want to put something on to relax to, I'm not going to put on something that I want to really manipulate my emotions further than just I'm having a good time.
Well, you're not going to watch something complicated like
yeah,
Shawshank Redemption or the Godfather. Not complicated, but meaning like there's a lot to it. Like you got to pay attention and whatever. Yeah. More likely to watch a Marvel or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess that's a good point. Like, depending on what mood you're in, because like some of my favorite movies, there are times where I wouldn't want to watch them. Like, there's times I don't want to sit there and watch Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. Well,
Because
it's a
just,
big commitment.
Yeah,
That's the biggest thing for me. I would watch it anytime because I love those movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are great. But to me, it's like there'll be certain points throughout the year I'll be like, I want to sit down and watch Lord of the Rings and commit to it and just love it. Whereas times I've kind of turned them on and been like, eh. Yeah. So I think it's expectations going into a movie add a lot too as well.
I would agree with that actually. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say that probably a mixture between the two. What you guys said for me. So I'm quite easy to please when it comes to a movie. So I just need to. Yeah, I just need to know that. So. Yeah, we'll get into the bad part, but basically for me, I like to see a movie where I'm interested the whole time. So it doesn't, whether it's dialogue that's intriguing or action that's makes me want to watch more, or a hook that carries through and you're waiting for the final reveal, like something that keeps me so I'm not looking at the time or seeing when the movie's almost done. That's my main requirement.
Those are all kind of variations of what I said though. Dialogue informed by characters and story structure is like a hook that keeps you going.
Yes, but it doesn't necessarily like. It could be just like the rest of it. The dialogue could be bad, but like the hook, like how you get there, I don't care so much about it. As long as by the end of the movie, I understand.
If like another aspect is really really good, it can kind of carry it.
Yeah.
So.
It made me want to make an example of a random movie that has nothing to do with Star Wars or anything. But yeah, no, it's.
Well, so what about bad? Like, what are the main things that like you? If you see this in a movie, you're just going to call it bad. Like, what are your?
I didn't think about that part because most movies do things bad for me. So like,
if George Lucas directs it.
Well, no, I like the first one.
That's true.
No, it's the opposite of the things I said. No structure, no defined characters. That was my biggest thing with Phantom Menace. Is like none of the characters had any character. They were cardboard cutouts essentially, and like also. I'm more into that stuff personally, like character and good story writing. But like even a bad action scene will take me out of the movie, like with Attack of the Clones.
It's hard.
It is hard to quantify exactly what makes it bad. I mean, I can say like,
just what don't you like about it, just personally.
Or like, what's a movie that like, what's your least favorite movie you can think of off the top of your head?
I don't know, because I feel like I just quit movies like halfway through.
I suppose, yeah.
It's like
nowadays, like we used to like kind of be, you rented a movie or something. It's like you're not gonna not watch the movie. There's very few movies I've started and not watched.
Now with streaming, you can just like watch it, stop it, and whatever.
Well, I'll give you mine, and then you tell me if it sparks anything. But so actually, Colin and I were talking about this the other day. So off the top of my head, my least favorite movie is actually, I think it's called San Andreas with
The Rock.
The Rock Johnson.
You know what? The Rock kills a lot of movies for me.
I don't mind him.
He's
so
a charming guy. He just needs to be in better movies.
Yeah. I watched Jumanji for the first time the other day, by the way. But,
the original one?
No, the next one. No, the reason why that movie drove me so nuts was the CGI in it was just so terrible. Like there's scenes where he's like jumping off a boat into the water, and it's like, like when they just take a person and animate them straight down, like there's no effect to it. It just looked like they shot a movie and then realized, oh crap, we need to put special effects in it. Like that's what it felt like to me. Like, oh, we should have him jump out of the boat here. And it's like, and so we just it's like putting Harrison Ford around Jabba, like lifting him up and putting like that type of thing. It's like, oh, come on.
It was never shot. Well, I think San Andreas must have accounted for the CGI.
Oh, I'm sure they did, but
it just looked bad.
To me, it was so off-putting that I remember, like, in anyone I talked to, they're like, yeah, it was an okay movie. I just couldn't see past that. I was like, what? How could you not see this? It was terrible.
I feel the similar way about Black Panther, where I think the story and characters are amazing, but the CGI just kills that movie for me.
I was going to bring up another Marvel movie, Thor. I find it's directed by Kenneth Branagh, and I find he makes such weird decisions.
Yeah.
Like all the Dutch angles. And like stuff like the movie doesn't feel like it's lit properly, even though it's like it's a really interesting movie when you get down to the fact of it, where it's like it's this guy like out of world.
It's a fish out of water comedy.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
so
Action comedy.
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't think I've seen Thor all the way through, because it's like I get
Okay.
through it.
It's a pretty boring movie. The
It
first
is
Thor.
boring, but it also has like cool. Like, I mean, they're really fleshed out characters considering they're like Norse
that's what-
mythology. But like,
I think I compared this earlier. It's like the things I mentioned for like what makes a good movie. Marvel has been doing that competently for years. Like they do what the prequel should have been doing better, and it's worked for them. So like I that's the level of competence I want with the prequels, and it just never really adds up for me.
Yeah.
So
It seems like there was a very simple formula they could have followed.
yeah.
I say simple, but meaning like there was a standard set formula they could have followed and made great movies.
But even now, a lot of people don't like the fact that the Marvel movies are so formulaic.
yeah,
So it's like,
I when I recently started watching through all of them, about 3/4 of the way through, I was like, these feel very similar, but on their own, like they're
Yeah.
great movies.
I mean,
it's
all you
hard
gotta
to
do
complain.
once in a while is just like change it up a little bit. Just change the formula a little bit to make it fresh, and they do that once in a while.
Well, they kind of did that a little bit with like the Spider-Man Homecoming stuff. I know that's not necessarily the latest Spider-Man series. I thought had some different stuff to it, but
Yeah.
that was with myself. So, Attack of the Clones.
Yeah. Anyway, yep.
We know you hate it.
I
You can say your piece. I was just
Okay, I just want to say,
You just want to say you hate it.
I don't like Attack of the Clones. It's coarse and rough, and it gets everywhere. I would continue the rest of the speech, but it would make Adam uncomfortable because he's sitting right next to me.
you start caressing them because
Yeah.
it's soft. It's soft.
Yeah. Okay, Chad.
Yeah, well, I already kind of talked to you about it, but it's like, yeah, I don't like it, but also there's like, I'm a little bit conflicted because like, it does hold a little bit of nostalgia for me, not like Phantom Menace, but also in a different way where it's like being on Genosha, that planet.
Geonosis?
Is that what it is? Geonosis?
I think so.
I don't even know the name. I remember playing that level on Star Wars Battlefront 2. Like the original one in 2005. I remember playing that, and that's what I'm nostalgic for.
It looks better on that, too. It looks better than the movie.
Probably, but yeah. So, yeah. I mean, and there's like a lot of bad things about this movie, I find. But like a couple good things, too, I have to say. So
Undercut by terrible things.
yes. Yeah. So, okay. We don't want to be as nitpicky as we were last time, but
Nope.
so any big things anyone wants to mention?
How about if I like the movie or not?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
You didn't ask me.
It's okay.
I thought we started with you. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
No.
So here's the thing. I actually really enjoyed the movie.
Okay.
I have okay, and this is the truth. Okay, there were a lot of highs, and there were a lot of lows.
The lowest lows.
But I will say that at no point was I not interested in the movie. And like I said, if my simple criteria, this is why I wanted to like explain what makes a good movie. I'm pretty easy to please. It was entertaining the whole time, whether for good or for bad. It was still entertaining the whole time.
I was entertained by it for bad reasons. Like
Yeah.
I was saying to Chad, I actually enjoyed watching this more than Phantom Menace because it's so bad, it made me laugh. Like,
Well, and at the end of the day, that's not necessarily what they're probably shooting
no,
for.
that's
so
not their
therefore it's not
intent, so I
good,
can't give
but-
them credit for it. But
Yeah.
like, it's better than just hating everything, I guess.
Okay.
But I mean, so the highs for me, I loved the Coruscant stuff, like the
Race.
the environment.
They fleshed out the world. I was going to say that
It looked
too.
really cool to me.
I know
it
you have
looked-
one issue with it. Yeah.
It looked like
Well,
cyberpunk a little bit. Like,
Well, that's actually I don't like it because it feels like a cheap knockoff of the Blade Runner city. Where that's like the definitive like cyberpunk looking city, and this movie just feels like that produced by the guys who make the McDonald's toys. Like it looks like really cheap to me. Like it's very like it's bright and like contrasting colors. I didn't really like. I just don't like it visually.
I don't-
CGI aside.
I have not
thought-
seen either Blade Runner, so I don't think I have that.
I haven't either. That's
comparison.
another series we could do. Is
Okay.
it a series?
Two
just two
movies.
movies.
Two movies. No, I saw. So I was picturing mostly like it felt like a movie that was made 5 years ago to me when I watched it. Like, in other words, it held up well to me. The rain, I'm not talking about.
I like
all
the
of it,
rain
but
planet.
There's that stuff's great. But like even during the chasing scene and stuff, when there's rain and stuff like that, with the contrasting neon lights and everything, it just felt. I didn't like look at it in extreme detail, and I'd never seen Blade Runner, so I didn't see that comparison. But for me, a first-time viewer, I thought it was great. Like that part was really cool.
I have issues with the chase specifically.
I think
there's a lot of problems with the chase.
I disagree with the thing that looks 5 years ago. Like I hated the CGI in this movie. It looks so dated. And it's worse than Phantom Menace because there's way more of it, so it's way more obvious. Most of the movie is on a green screen.
I didn't think Coruscant was the worst looking. I think there's probably a couple spots in the Coruscant chase that I thought were bad. But overall, I didn't think it was too like it's not like the most egregious of.
No, the movie does worse things, but I didn't really like it that much.
I think I like more that you see Coruscant more fleshed out, because like in the first movie they mention it's a planet that's entirely a city, but they only go to like 2 spots. You see the inside of 2 rooms. This one you're actually seeing like, oh, this is what I think that was just the wind. This is what a city of like a planet that's entirely a city. This is what it actually looks like, right? So, and I mean,
so to me, like the worlds or the environments were fantastic to me when I watched it. Like for instance, the Rain Planet with the clones.
I liked
that. Was pretty cool. I liked for the most part the fight scenes. For the most part.
What do you mean by the fight scenes?
Just like any action scene, I'll say.
Okay.
So for the most part, the action scenes were pretty cool to me. Like at least held my interest. So that was generally the good stuff. The bad was definitely the one-liners and the dialogue. Like,
I think the bad.
I feel like a 2-year-old could have written
the bad thing
stuff.
Is the romance.
Yeah.
Even you must have seen how bad that romance is.
The romance. Well, so aside from the fact it was very creepy,
because she knew him when he was 10.
No, but like
okay, so
Anakin himself is so
Anakin
creepy.
looks like he looks like a sex pervert. Like the way he looks at her is like, don't look at me like that, and he continues to look at her.
Yes, I know.
You're the girl You're the girl I saw in my dreams.
Yeah, so very creepy. But here's the thing: I can't really knock it for that. It drew an emotion, right? If that's what he was going for.
No, there is no way that's what he was going for. He was going for a genuine romantic relationship.
He's an idiot then.
Yeah, that's why people don't like this movie. That's the sticking point. This is the Jar Jar of the movie. Ironically, because Jar Jar's in this movie.
See, but it makes sense though that he was going for the creepy aspect because I mean we know who he's eventually going to become. Like you see that dark side in him. So when I actually I know at first I hated Hayden Christensen's acting. It was terrible. He
throws so many temper tantrums.
He's overly critical. He never listens. He doesn't understand. It's not fair. It's all Obi-Wan's fault. He's jealous. He's holding me back.
I know, but like just his acting in general is very plain, but he was consistent with it. And so for that, by the end of it, I actually liked it.
I don't think he was consistent.
A twist.
I think he was all over the place as far as his portrayal.
Well, meaning like I certainly felt, not in like a super deep level, like a really good movie would do, but I felt a little bit of that battle inside of him, that kind of light and darkness a little bit. Like it came out from time to time when he was having a temper.
Sure.
And then, but the romance was totally creepy stuff.
Like the scene where he's like we're jumping all over the place. Who fucking cares at this point?
Okay.
Like the scene where like the moment where he's like, I slaughtered them, I killed them all.
Yeah.
Actually I was gonna say that's the part I like. Everything, it's fucked up and awful, but beforehand he's like whining. It's like it's all Obi-Wan's fault, and then he goes in that speech. I'm like, oh, but then Padme's reaction is like, everyone gets angry.
Every single one of them, and not just the men, but the women and the children too. They're like animals, and I slaughtered them like animals.
To be angry is to be human.
It's like that's not how you respond to that.
You say we're gonna sit you down. We're gonna get a psychologist, and we're gonna.
No, if you're
I wrote that too. He needs a therapist.
No, if you are dating someone and they say to you, "I slaughtered a bunch of women and children," leave. Red flag. Red flag. Red flag. Leave. Don't marry them at the end of the movie.
But then we wouldn't have Luke.
I see. That right there is the one thing where it's like, okay, like this is what it all has to lead up to. We know where it's going.
Can it be done better though, as opposed to creepy and weird?
It feels like I wrote it down where it's like Anakin is just like emotionally like so immature, like about like so much, everything.
He blames Obi-Wan. He's overly arrogant. He's whiny.
Yeah.
He's angry all the time. Like that's what I mean by his character being inconsistent. Like
but
he's
also
so
like,
all over the place.
It almost like he also doesn't understand love almost, where it's like there's like a few lines that make me think like it's like where he's like all what you just said, but then like he's like basically like he's poetic. He's like,
that's why I think George Lucas has made inspiration for the romance is Romeo and Juliet. Because Romeo and Juliet is like, they're just horny teenagers. People go on, it's the greatest romance story. They're just horny teenagers. And he tried to do that, but didn't understand how that worked. So it comes off like someone who doesn't understand. Like, it sounds like he's never had a girlfriend or any type of partner ever. Like, it's just like, that's not, people don't react like this.
Yeah.
Like, that's my biggest sticking point for the movie. And it's so much of it, it's like, it really drags the movie down for me.
It's you talking about like in action scenes of the previous movies, how you kind of like zone out a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like, to me, like I keep my notes on my computer as I'm watching, and when those scenes would come up, I'd be like, oh, okay, what's on Facebook right now?
I was time to make notes.
But like, that's the weird thing. It's terrible, but that's the thing that kept my attention the most because it's so weird. Like, it's so weird.
It is.
So, you know what's interesting? I actually wasn't as bothered by the age discrepancy because it wasn't him creeping in on a young girl. She wasn't creeping in on the young boy. It was the young boy being obsessed with the older girl.
Still creepy.
It's still creepy, but not to the same level. You know what I mean? If the roles had been reversed, it would have been way creepier.
Although she does make out with him and they get married. And the first thing she says to him is, wow, you'll always be that boy I saw on Tatooine, which is like, ew.
And you'll always be that little boy I knew on Tatooine.
But
I know.
So don't remind me of that.
Okay. First of all, it's only a 5-year difference. And he's 20 in this movie.
Is he? I thought he was like
I thought he was 16.
I thought he was a teenager because he acts like such a whiny teenager.
Because, so you said he's 10.
He acts like a teenager,
He's
for
10
sure.
in Phantom Menace, right?
That's what I said. I don't know if I'm right.
It's either he's 9 or 10.
Okay.
And
She's 14,
then there's a
isn't she?
line, and she's 14 in Phantom Menace. And there's a line in the movie where he's like, oh, I can't believe it's been 10 years since I've last seen her.
Did she say that?
Yeah,
Okay.
Anakin says that.
Okay, that makes it worse because a 20-year-old won't act like that.
I know, but I like, it makes the relationship less creepy where it's like 20 and 24,
But
25.
it's creepy from her perspective because it's like she's like, you knew
I know,
that person was 10. Like that, I can't get over that.
But the other thing, what you just said about like, oh, you'll always be the little boy. I felt like that was her like right away shutting it down. Like, you're like my little brother.
She shuts it down consistently until a point where she's like, yeah, whatever. It's like Stockholm syndrome.
That's what I said too.
It's like Stockholm
Yes.
syndrome. I've been with you like for like a day, I guess. Like, I guess we should make out.
I feel like the flip doesn't make sense when she's like, oh, I love you.
Yeah.
I love you.
Where it's like,
That
where
drove
does
me
this-
crazy. Why do you love him?
Yeah.
He just, the scene previous when they were together, he just admitted to murdering a bunch of people. You leave.
I feel
Now,
like us
in fairness-
laughing is undercutting the PSA that you're trying to make.
What?
Us laughing is undercutting the PSA you're
Well,
trying to
it's
make.
like, it's so ridiculous. What about, well, it's the only reaction I can make.
Yes, I know.
In fairness, a PSA doesn't need to be made about this.
Mostly, it's common
obvious.
sense, pretty much. Like,
No, it's hard because so I was very torn through the whole movie, and that's what got me thinking like, what do I like in a movie? What do I not like? Because I went into it thinking it was going to be the worst movie I've ever seen. And I kept that attitude. So the very beginning, like I started being critical of it. Like at the very beginning, the worms, like those are the deadly enemy, the assassins, those creepy little slug worms.
yeah.
But then as soon as Anakin came in and like really cool sliced them both, I was like, okay, that's cool. Like different but cool. And then, so the scene that got me, and I'm like, okay, maybe there's something to this movie, was when Obi-Wan dove out the window.
Okay.
That was an awesome scene.
I
loved that.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
I have to say something about all that whole scene you just talked about. There's like a lot of dialogue where Obi-Wan and Anakin are talking, where Obi-Wan's like talking about how Palpatine's so great and stuff like that. And I just don't understand how he's supposed to be the greatest Jedi ever and all this.
I can't see he's getting duped.
Yes!
I know.
And,
But you could say that about every single character in the movie. The
Okay.
Jedi Council, everyone.
Yes.
Everything is a plan. Every single thing is
Yeah.
planned by Palpatine, and it relies on everyone being stupid and him being incredibly lucky.
yes.
Yeah, that was that was the biggest low for me, was just the fact, like, I'd held the Jedis and the Jedi Council up on this high pedestal, and they just, like, you
Like,
guys are like idiots.
Like, think about Palpatine's plan. He went after Padme to essentially get them on the trail for the dart that he somehow knew Obi-Wan would bring to a guy who owns a 50s diner. We'll talk about that. Who would link them to an archive that doesn't have the planet, and he would just go there and find clones ordered by a Jedi who is dead and couldn't possibly have ordered them. Like, at that point, you're like, we probably shouldn't use these clones. These seem shady as hell. Like, and then at the end of the movie, Yoda comes in. And it's like, he says a line where it's like, I'm going to go investigate. And he comes in with, like it's like a halo drop of, like, and it's like,
so there were so many logic breaks in this movie, like, just like things that you're like, okay, well, this is what they should do, and then they just do the opposite, or it just like wow.
think for a second about what you're doing.
Yeah.
Can I wasn't done with that scene.
Sorry.
Yeah.
The thing with Obi-Wan jumping out of the window, I mean, it was cool, but it was not Obi-Wan's character.
No.
It should have been Anakin that jumped out the window.
Well, you see an example of it when he jumps out of the car.
Exactly. Like, why?
Yeah.
Like, it's literally like you have Anakin, who's like the Daredevil driving that speeder, like diving it and then diving out of the speeder, and it was just kind of like Obi-Wan is uncomfortable with Anakin driving the whole time, and it was just like,
Yeah.
why?
Well, not to mention the biggest problem is the fact that Obi-Wan had talked about we're there to protect her, not to find out who's trying to kill
And
her.
he keeps
and then he's the
undermining
one who
him.
goes investigates,
Yeah.
even
And-
though Anakin
Yeah.
said anyway. So yeah.
And then Django follows them instead of killing the unguarded
the
princess.
dart at the and he
He
did.
doesn't want to kill the princess. The princess was never the goal. That was just to get them on the trail of the clones. They never really wanted to kill the princess. That was all Palpatine's plan. They needed to get her off the planet so Jar Jar could take over the... That was the whole point. That was the whole point. They never wanted to kill her. They just wanted her off the planet. So Jar Jar would give supreme power to the
jeez.
Emperor.
I want to watch this movie again now. Oh.
Did you not really see...
I didn't know that
I
either.
was so lost with so much stuff, and like even you saying like the dead Jedi, I was like, I don't understand this dead Jedi guy. Like,
But they
who
mentioned, you
ordered-
remember, right? They say he ordered it, but then they talk. It's like, no, he's dead. There's no way he could have ordered
But it was
that.
Palpatine who did it under.
Yeah, he
What is the
set up that
Jedi-
exact dart to hit them, knowing Obi-Wan would fall into the cloning facility and that no one would ever ask questions about it. Padme was also part of the plan because it got her out of there into hiding so Jar Jar could take political power and give it to him. When Palpatine at the end says it's all going according to plan, he really meant it. Like, that's like some god level power. Like, he could not have predicted all of that.
You just improved my view of the movie.
No, that makes it
in the weirdest
to me.
way.
That makes it worse because it's accounting for things that you could never possibly account for.
For sure, but that, like, I guess that.
The story all comes together for me.
Thanks, Kyle.
Really?
That helps.
But yeah, it's an
No, it
awful
makes it worse for me.
story.
When he
it's
shot
an
the
awful
dart-
story, but everything makes sense now.
But when Django missed,
Yeah, I guess.
like, why didn't he just shoot Anakin or Obi when he shot the?
Because that wasn't the point.
Exactly. So I didn't catch that. So that
Yeah,
helps.
I didn't mean to make I meant the movie to make less sense opposed to more sense, but whatever.
I feel like we have to stop here.
It's still not particularly well
10 out of
done.
10.
We have to stop here.
It's still like just because
gotta
it makes
rewatch it.
just
We
because
gotta
it makes
rewatch it.
sense doesn't mean it's particularly well done by any means.
No,
But that's actually a really good point. It made no sense to us.
Yeah.
And so that's not usually what you want to do. in
I
a movie.
don't understand why it made sense to me then. Like I just like
Well,
it's-
you've been around a little bit more. Like you've watched the movies.
I've
probably.
watched a lot of movies.
I watched with subtitles, and the subtitles told me half the people were talking in the same language that
you've
Jabba the
seen-
Hutt talks
You've
in.
seen Revenge of the Sith. You know everything's going to according to plan.
Do you know what? I don't remember the last time I saw Revenge of the Sith.
Okay.
All I remember is like
We can't-
basically the end of it.
Yeah, that was all. Everything that's done in this movie leads to that ending.
Yeah, I get that it was setting it up, but I don't understand how it was setting it up. I don't understand how it all made sense.
Yeah.
It's
No, like it might make sense to you guys. The plot, it makes less sense to me because it's so implausible.
oh no, I'm
Like
there with you on that.
Like
It
he has to
is-
account for like every single
Yeah.
thing. It's like the Joker or something in The Dark Knight, where it's like it's like he has this meticulous plan, but in reality, that would never work.
Yes.
Because you have to account for like all these specific things and luck, and everyone being around you being dumb. This is like that times 2. So it kind of breaks immersion for me in that way.
Yeah, to me, I would agree. It's not a great plot, but it makes more sense now.
It makes sense, but I still think the execution is
Yeah, well, it
lacking.
obviously wasn't great. 2 out of 3 of us didn't get it.
Yes,
So
yeah.
it's not usually what you want.
I mean, I watched this movie twice preparing, and like
wow.
I just like kind of skipped
I watched
over
it
this.
once and I wasn't even really paying attention.
I feel like I'm gonna watch.
I have
Palpatine's
so many
behind it
notes,
all.
but I don't know what to talk about now.
Well, I mean, there's lots of things to talk about. I mean, he didn't account for the romance, or did he? Fuck. I'm thinking he might have accounted for
No,
the
he
romance.
definitely accounted for the romance because he was the one who suggested Anakin goes with Padme.
What I'm thinking is that apparently
Definitely.
I was going to go even further into it. There's a part in the movie where Anakin's shirtless in bed, which is creepy, and he's dreaming about his mother through the Force, and he talks about how he met Padme because he's been dreaming about him. Were those Force dreams that Palpatine was pushing in? Does he have so much power over the Force he can make people dream what he wants? Oh my god!
Yet he couldn't predict that Luke was going to turn against his father, or wasn't
Yeah.
going to turn against his father.
See how it doesn't make sense?
Yeah. He's clearly powerful in these movies, but in the
Chad's gonna have a meltdown. Yeah. But it doesn't stop that romance from not being the most awkward thing possible with the film.
So you know what I thought about the romance? I thought it was like the original Twilight movies. Like
Don't
it
think I've-
had that feel to it, like
I'd never seen.
dark weirdness, romance, like weird.
I-
I was so what I thought about it was Hayden Christensen. Obviously, they brought him in my opinion, anyway. They brought him in. He's
be the
good-looking
yeah.
actor. The girls are gonna love him. They're gonna turn up just
Yeah.
for that.
It's weird,
like,
too.
It's like a teen romance
Yeah.
mixed in with like adult action. So it was a little.
Adult action.
No, not that. Just as in like.
No, I mean, someone gets decapitated in this movie, I guess. So that's pretty extreme. There's
Yeah.
no blood though, but
Yeah. No, I meant more like it's not your typical teen movie, but the romance stuff is like creepy.
it's made for
typical
12-year-old
teen movie.
boys. Let's be real.
I was gonna say 12-year-old girls.
And that's George Lucas trying to get on that market. We'll put a romance in.
But if you think about it, like movies that have done well, I've never watched any of these I'm about to name, but like 50 Shades of Grey, dark, creepy love story. Like how could
read the
everyone
book.
ever? So I'm assuming that's like obviously dark, creepy the whole time through, but yet people seem to love it.
Well, because there's a lot of horny housewives out there. That's the only reason to read that.
So
It started off as a Twilight fan fiction that got published in something else.
Really?
Yeah, they added more like sadomasochism to it and sold it as a different thing.
So to me, I think Stephanie Meyer, is that her name?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She just copied this movie.
And did it slightly better, honestly. Like I was
definitely
saying,
better.
Chad, like this is probably the worst romance I've seen in any major movie. Like,
I agree. It's especially if George Lucas was not intending to like, if his goal was to have that Anakin kind of like fighting that light love to darkness and like fighting that emotion in himself, and it's meant to be creepy, a little bit forceful, but then it mellows out and stuff. Like it was done too quickly in that sense. But if that was the intent, I don't think it was that bad. Hayden Christensen, I don't hate on his acting. I thought it was actually pretty. It was very
I don't like his acting.
plain, but he was consistent with it, and it was believable to me.
Yeah, I actually.
He's done some better movies.
No, he's a good actor.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I think it's George Lucas isn't a very good director because he hadn't directed a movie since 1977 when he did the prequels. So I think that's mostly it.
Can we talk about the sand line?
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
Is there so
That's my favorite Star Wars quote of all time. It's the one I say the most. It's terrible, but it's so terrible that I love it.
the first initial thing that he says, like, I don't like sand, it's coarse. It's like that is it's not necessarily delivered bad. It's not a bad line.
It's a bad line.
No, saying like I don't like. She's talking about, oh yeah, we would go out and swim and lay in the sand and that, and he'd be like, I don't like sand. It's coarse. It's all this. But then he gets creepy about it, and he's there like
He uses it as a pickup line, and it works. That's the part that really bugs me the most about it.
I mean, if it was just him being like, I don't like it because it reminds me of this life that I
was
had.
expecting like he lived on Tatooine. I figured that would have I don't know. I don't like that line because she isn't specifically talking about sand. She's talking about like beaches, and then he just goes on a tangent about sand. It feels very like it's kind of related to what she's saying, but
Yeah.
it's like
See, I guess I saw it as more he was referencing because it reminded him of Tatooine.
That's what I saw.
So then
as-
it's like
guess-
it's not really. It's a badly placed line.
using it as a
at minimum.
pickup line is the part that drives me
yes,
crazy.
I guess I didn't
that's where
notice
I
that,
don't
yeah.
like it. Yeah.
Because then it transitions to everything's smooth here. He starts feeling like her like belly or something. It's like, or her arm,
Okay, I didn't
and I'm
pick
like,
up on that.
and I'm like,
That's
and then
creepy.
and then he kisses her, and Padme kisses him back, and it's like. Anakin acting like a creep is one thing. I never understood why she's into any of it. Like he comes off like such a creep.
So I have a theory. Was he using the Force in any way to manipulate?
That
her?
makes it way worse if that's true.
Oh,
If
it's
that's,
terrible,
That's
but-
essentially. I'm not
Yes,
going to say
yeah,
what that
yeah.
is, but
Yeah. Well, what if it's Palpatine then?
yeah. But they say that the Force doesn't work on strong-willed people. They say that in the movie.
Okay.
And junk, hairless junk guys.
Well, they mentioned
He had facial hair.
Well, the reason that is because
Practically, at least.
his race can't be affected by the Force.
Yes.
Yeah, they say that in the
Oh,
movie.
for sure. But
Yeah.
yeah.
But they don't seem particularly strong-willed.
Can I bring up something that I thought was good about the movie?
No.
Okay.
Sure.
Of course. I just wanted to say no.
Sam Jackson. I thought he was pretty good. There was
Really?
some
Okay.
his
I don't
running.
agree.
His running was bad, but I thought there was.
He feels like he came out of Phantom Menace. He's like the least. He has the least character. He's just very stoic, and that's
Yes.
really it.
I actually agree with that.
I think that's what I meant. More, not that his character was good. I thought him delivering lines, he did them well.
Yes.
That's-
I mean,
he's a
that's an
great actor.
actor's job. Like,
He's
Yeah,
a great
so-
actor for sure.
Yeah.
It felt like he was given bad lines and given bad directing, but
Yeah.
yet he clearly.
But it's also
played
you have
it right.
Sam Jackson in it. Like, can you use him more? Utilize him a little bit better?
He gets utilized more in the third, doesn't he? Do you find?
No.
No?
I can't say why, but
Well, I thought there was a reason, or like he's a bit more pivotal.
yeah, I guess so.
And I thought Christopher Lee was pretty good.
I like Christopher Lee a lot. Ooh. But I find his character, the Count Dooku, kind of boring.
I don't like the character at all, but I thought, again, for the same reasons I thought as Sam Jackson, I mean, he gives as good a performance as he
Well,
can.
that's like kind of the same reason like I have problems with Qui-Gon. Like people just like him because it's Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
I kind of have that problem where it's like you're looking at the actor playing him and not the character.
yeah.
So
I as soon as I saw, I had the same thoughts about Sam Jackson in terms, like I was thinking about him and stuff, and I referenced in my mind back to what you were saying. Like, am I liking him because he's Sam Jackson, or am I liking him, because he's doing well in the movie, or the character's good? And I think it was just because he's Sam Jackson. Any bit of like I had in it.
he's a charismatic guy. Like
I mean, like the stuff at the end, like he clearly showed his power at the end.
he had the
and,
purple lightsaber.
The purple lightsaber. When we're all done the movie, I want to like look up like what the colors mean and stuff. Is there any plot spoilers or anything with?
Well, you know what red means. Red means Sith.
Okay, I was gonna say
Green,
evil, but yeah.
green.
okay.
Well, yeah. Green means Jedi Master, and then all the other ones I think are kind of incidental because there's a whole expanded universe thing about the lightsabers. We can talk about it later. Not here because it'll take forever, but yeah.
You were mentioning something about Jedi Council. Do you have any other thoughts about it?
They're really stupid.
Yeah, okay, so this goes back to when I first met Yoda. I was like, I had an expectation in my mind that, and it just fell flat for me when I first saw Yoda, and that's why I'm actually appreciating Yoda more now, oddly enough, like the original Yoda. Just like because now like I've seen him in the serious mode, but like I kind of like that he eventually calms down, or not calms down, but like eventually gets, like
little more fun.
a little more fun. And so it's interesting as the movies are going on. I'm liking or hating things more about them, which I mean makes sense, I guess. Yeah. But Jedi Council. So I had this expectation of them being like. I felt like they were gonna be overtaken by just pure numbers. You know what I mean? Like I didn't think it was gonna be trickery. I thought it was gonna be like they just wouldn't have enough to keep up because the Jedi ways are dying.
Yeah,
and that's gonna.
They
be
make a mention that they're becoming less attuned to the Force too. Like they can't use the Force as well.
Yeah, and so like that just kind of threw me a little bit, but I'm not complaining about it. I wasn't. That took me by surprise.
So. When I originally saw the prequel trilogy and all that, I always liked the idea of like the Jedi were like this big, powerful, like in my mind, I guess, would like had this. To me, it always seemed like they were thriving in the prequels, and then the original trilogy, it was like, oh, this is just like the last little bit of shambles left.
Yeah, there's only a couple.
Like
left.
It's like the great power that kind of like fell. Mm-hmm. But now watching it this whole watch through that we're doing, I feel like what they were going for with in the original trilogy was more. It's almost like a legacy, it's very passed down generation to generation. Because it's like this 1-to-1 mentor thing and all this, and having like this like in the prequel trilogies, this like kind of like it's like almost like corporate like the corporate Jedi Council.
Yeah.
Like cheapens it.
It's like we can't tell our stockholders that we're losing the power in the Force.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel as special almost, or like
that's the problem I mentioned is of trying to make it more science fiction. They ground a lot of the more mystical elements, which makes it kind of a little less interesting.
Yeah.
So.
What did you guys think of Obi-Wan's storyline?
It has a lot of crossover with everyone's kind of stupid, and they should have investigated more. I guess like I don't really have much to say about his storyline. It was kind of.
I liked they kind of made it to be a bit like a detective. Like
if the detective didn't follow his hunches at all, this is shady. That's fine. That's fine.
I should make a call.
Yeah, nah.
But not actually do it.
I mean, I guess like one scene that I kind of liked that was part of his storyline was where he's at the archives and it's been erased, and he then goes to Yoda, and all the kids are there. And Yoda's like
the ugly CGI alien kids.
Yes, all like Yoda's kind of like asking like the kids like, well, how can this be? And they're like, well, someone erased it from the archives.
Master, because someone erased it from the archive memory.
I liked that scene. I think just because
I did, except Obi couldn't figure that out yet.
Yeah,
like
I like that scene because you do see a little bit more of like original trilogy Yoda.
Yes, exactly.
I like that.
Yeah,
even though
the
the kids were kind of CGI monsters, but it's fine.
Well, they gave the regular human guy the line, so
yeah. I just would have preferred cheap dollar store masks than CGI. I don't know.
As far as other Obi-Wan, like, do you want like Obi-Wan in general, or do you just like whole story?
I mean, I was just gonna say I enjoyed his storyline. Like while the romance was going on, whatever, his stuff. Like when I felt the tension. He was off on his own, going to the clone planet. That was some really cool. There's some really cool scenes about that. I loved his
ship. I had the same.
Really
I liked
cool.
how it had like that extra
halo
part
circle,
for like long
pulled
travel.
up and then he released.
Good,
what did you guys
good
think?
design for the ship.
I want to talk about Jango Fett. Yes, sorry. I was going to say Jabba Fett.
I don't want to see that kid.
That might happen later. I want to talk about him. So I didn't think Bubba Fett was necessary in this. Like,
nope.
What the
I
frick
agree
was
with
that
that.
all about?
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention, so this is jumping ahead a lot, but the scene where Jango's head gets cut off
by Mace Windu,
and Bubba was holding his head, like that hurt for some reason to watch that. Like,
well, you said you had a problem with kids and stuff in movies.
I do, and I mean it's like I couldn't imagine. like in that moment, I just imagined my son seeing something violent like that. Like it would just be
It's almost like
But
this
in a way,
wrenching.
but in a way, your
But you
kid
didn't need to put that.
But in a
like,
way,
to me,
your
almost.
kid would have seen you going out in one of the most badass ways possible.
Sam Jackson
Head
took
cut
you
off by
out.
Sam Jackson with a lightsaber while you're wearing bounty hunter armor.
I think that would have made me hate Sam Jackson, but
It's almost like the movie was like almost like made by a sociopath, like
Someone who doesn't understand people, like what people react to, I guess. Like,
yeah.
because it's like I guess I can't relate to that specifically, but
It's still pretty horrifying.
Like when you say it, I'm like, oh yeah. If like me, if it was like me and my dad, that's something I can relate to. That's like scarring and
yeah,
like.
and it's not like
yeah.
it's not like Django just got stabbed with like Qui-Gon did. He got his head cut off.
And he's holding the head. And the whole time I kept thinking, the head was going to pop out.
So there's one thing that I saw online where if it happens really quickly, but when the head actually gets cut off, you see the helmet land, but you can see a shadow of the head actually flying out of the helmet. So that's why it never does that.
Oh.
So it's like one of those things, like things you might have missed in this movie or whatever. And that was
Still.
yes. So it's even worse. He saw the head
Can I,
on the ground.
since we're on this scene, can I just say I hate the whole Coliseum scene?
Yes.
Oh, gosh.
That's like the window scene from the first one, like 2. It's like the sequel. Like it's everything CGI except for people. Well, most of the people are CGI too. It's so unengaging. It's so ugly to look at. It's all just orange.
There's 2 things I want to nitpick about it, and then I have a big issue with that whole scene. Nitpicky thing is one of the creatures, the one that they all ride on, it changes scale throughout the scene.
Okay, I didn't notice.
I did notice that, yeah.
It comes out really big in that, and then it changes slightly at one. There's one shot where it's really small, and one where it gets a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
But so that's a little bit nitpicky. The other one is when Anakin puts the friggin' chain around his mouth. This is a little too getting into the science of it, maybe, but he's acting like his reins and that. And first of all,
he broke the thing like in 5 seconds.
yeah, this is a wild animal. It's
made to kill.
They have animals in that scene that are specifically acting as horses.
Yeah.
Like this, so it's like this is obviously something that can't be tamed. And also,
But Anakin's so good. Obi-Wan's holding him back, you know.
A chain,
He's so good. He
a
can just
chain
do
in the
that.
mouth isn't the same thing as like a bit and bridle and all that. Like it's not going to control the animal. So that was the nitpicky things. My big issue with the whole scene, and it's a bit leading up to it, is freaking C-3PO in that scene.
Yeah, he kind of. Well, even beforehand when they're in the factory, like
The
it's
factory.
It's like,
I'm adding the factory into
yeah,
this.
but like that's like. It feels like, well, Jar Jar's not in this. We have to have some comic relief. People seem to like C-3PO from the original. Let's have him do some funny thing. And it's just like,
But like that factory is almost like set up like. Have you seen like when Anakin gets his arm stuck in the thing too?
Yeah.
It's like, what are they making right now? It's literally just like a
it
death
fits
trap.
his hand perfectly.
But then it gets chopped in half.
Yeah, like
What are they making?
I don't know. Yeah, and also the factory was all CGI too, so like more CGI.
Someone needs to make like the object that this factory is making, or like
I think they're making robots, aren't they? 'Cause
That's what it is. It's a droid processing.
So
I'm so the whole factory scene reminded me of like the Home Improvement Super Nintendo game where it's just like
oh god, I didn't even know you played that.
it's like just like it felt like a 2D side-scrolling game where it's like, oh, avoid the hammer.
Oh yeah, and if you
collect
ever,
the coins.
and if you ever needed help to know where to go, you look at the instruction manual. It says men don't use instructions, and you can't, and you never know what to do.
No, the factory scene, bar none, that was my least favorite scene of the whole movie. I remember thinking that the whole time, I'm just like, this. You just could cut this out and the movie.
Yeah,
would be
I wish
better.
they cut the Coliseum scene out too.
Yeah.
I didn't like the Coliseum.
So just the logic of like when, so they capture these people, these Jedis, and instead of just lobbing their heads off, they bring them give them a fighting chance when they know what they're capable of. Like, it didn't make any sense to me.
I wrote.
Okay, you have something to say? Or?
I wrote down it seems like a bad idea for political assassination, but I know now they weren't actually trying to assassinate Padme. So
The more you know. But yeah, the thing I have a problem with, it goes into Revenge of the Sith too, is that like the clones, they essentially just look like stormtroopers, right? They're essentially just
Yeah.
stormtroopers.
Yeah.
Why couldn't they just make a couple of clone armor suits? Every single one is CGI.
Yeah.
There's no physical, and then like they look like PS2 characters to me. Like they look like they're
They
from
do.
the Clone Wars TV show. And there's such an easy filmmaking way to do that is you get some like you actually make the suits, you get a couple extras in them, and if you want to do a big shot of like if you see the army, have the money shot ones like up front with the good
Yes.
armor, and then you CGI to fill out the back ranks because they're further back and you won't notice them as much. But everything is CGI. There's shots where it's like there's no actual people on screen; it's all CGI. Yoda talking to the commander, like, and the background is all CGI. It's like, is this an animated movie now? Like,
It was very bad.
yeah, I didn't like that.
Side note, the 3 monsters in the Coliseum, if you had a choice, which one would you want to fight?
Someone will have to remind me.
I don't remember what any of them look like. Cause
One looked like a big praying mantis. That was the
Right.
one fighting Obi-Wan.
Okay.
One looked like almost like a dinosaur with like 3 horns on its head. That was the one that Anakin
Triceratops type thing.
was riding on. And another one looked like a really creepy kind of like cat like thing. It had like way too many teeth.
I'll take the cat. I'll take the cat.
Okay.
This is one you want us to have for pets, right? Is that what you said?
No, which one? If you were in the Coliseum, which one would you want to be?
Oh, I wouldn't fight anyone. I'd wait for a bunch of Jedi to die and then hide under their bodies.
I mean, okay. Thanks for breaking the game, Kyle.
What? That's what I would do in this scenario.
Well, okay.
No, you know what I would have done? I would have undone my hands, climbed up to the top of a pillar somehow, and had my shirt half ripped off.
Does that happen in the movie?
Yeah, that happens to
That's
Padme.
Padme.
Oh, right. I forgot. Yeah.
Another part of the Coliseum that I thought was a little bit weird was when a Jedi lands in front of Count Dooku. He's about to take him out, and Jango shoots the Jedi. And then you see Jango do like this gun flip and all that, and then holster the gun.
Yeah.
Which was the lamest thing ever, I thought. But
I
also,
like that in spirit, though.
I liked
It's
it in
like an
spirit.
Old West thing.
But I think the one thing that made it like 10 times worse was they like put sound over it. Like there was like a sound effect over it where like the gun was like whooshing as he was like
Oh, really?
spinning it around. I was just like, yes, exactly. What other things? Oh, when Yoda lands the dropship or whatever,
With all the CGI clones, yeah.
his speech pattern would make him a really bad leader.
I was
going to
say that. Go around and make
yes.
perimeter, you will. Like, yeah, he would be really bad. He's not a good military commander.
Yeah.
So why does he talk like that?
I think it's just part of his race. I think.
Okay.
I've never seen another of his race in Star Wars. There probably is. I just haven't seen it.
Do you know what's? I can't. Oh, I'm so mad. Oh, right here. We never brought it up last time. I actually looked this up. I have an article here about his speech pattern, and
An unusual way of speaking Yoda has.
apparently, it's only unusual because of the English language. A lot of different languages, it's put like
Yeah.
it's
Like French. French
Yeah.
is you say, yeah, it's reverse of English. Yeah.
so it's.
No, that's interesting.
But yeah, it is just his race, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're making pretty good time here, so I want to move on to the lightsaber fight if no one has any more. to say.
So Count Dooku, I'd never heard of that character, never seen that character. That was completely new to me. Completely. Like I had no, like I've obviously seen Darth Maul and Darth Vader and the villains, but this guy and Palpatine even, but this
No one really
no
talks
idea.
about him because he's kind of forgettable. He's not like as cool as looking as Darth Maul. He's not as like fun as the Emperor. So it's like
His gimmick is the crooked lightsaber.
I wanted to bring that up because the way he holds that and the way his initial stance is with the one hand, I'm like, oh, that's like like a fancy. He's gonna fight like someone with like a rapier or like a fencing sword.
Yeah.
It's all gonna be like thrusts and tiny cuts. I'm like, oh, that's cool. But then when he fights, he just fights like
and
any
he
other Jedi.
grips it back up like a normal.
Yeah, I'm like,
yeah.
oh, that's such a cool setup for like a cool way of fighting, and then he just fights like a regular Jedi.
Yeah.
And it's lame. These are aside from the first movie, which I think that doesn't even count, right? That lightsaber fight, like that's just we can't even count that.
First movie, what?
Like the lightsaber fight in the first movie.
In A New Hope.
I think the ones in these are like my least favorite next to that, but that one's like so bad it doesn't even count because they're very brief. And like Anakin gets his ass kicked like so fast. There's a moment where he picks up the other lightsaber. You're like, oh, cool, and then he immediately gets it cut in half.
I remember, like, my thought from that was that lasted. I thought he fought like the whole fight with 2 lightsabers. In my memory,
I thought that too, but like I don't even know how long. I'll see when I go through the clips, but it's like it's barely
probably
any
like
time.
5 seconds.
Yeah, and then their fight is like really close up. There's like these weird close ups of their faces where they're kind of trying to do a thing where it's like they're fighting in the dark and they're using the lightsabers light, but you can't see what they're doing because it's too close to their face.
So this is one of my.
Just a visual effect they were doing.
Yeah.
I get what they were probably trying to do.
I think it could have been done better. I think it needed to be darker for that to happen. Like the lights need to go out and all you can see is the lightsabers.
So, but the thing that it's a kind of a general frustration with the whole movie. I don't think I've mentioned it yet. Is it feels like the whole movie is just lit really badly.
It's very bright, sort of.
Like
when we watched Phantom Menace, I didn't mention it, but I found that movie like way too bright. Like everything's very bright. There's no like moody lighting at any points really. Even on Tatooine where it's like a bad planet, there's nothing like the cantina where it's like moodily lit.
Yeah.
This one's kind of has a little bit more moody lighting, but I understand what you mean. It was kind of washed out in some scenes.
Like it was hard to follow some things that were happening
because of the lighting.
Because of the lighting. I thought.
I didn't find it hard to follow because of the lighting.
Maybe it was just like my TV just. The lighting in my room or something like that.
There's some frantic editing I found kind of hard to follow sometimes, but the lighting it bothered me, but didn't stop me from following the movie.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say I was too bothered with the lighting, but I know what you mean. It's almost like the dark scenes were too dark and the light scenes were too light, but I guess it didn't feel too bad. And the factory scene was just...
It is, like, I have to give it is more diverse lighting wise than Phantom Menace is. Phantom Menace is all bright. It's shot like a sitcom, sort of, where it's like, just make sure it's lit so everyone in the studio audience can see what's going on. Where this one is a little bit more diverse. I'm not saying the lighting's great, but it does have a little bit more diversity in it, so it's a positive. Anything else to say about the lightsaber fights? What did you think about them, Adam?
I thought there were elements of them that were really cool, but then they're like a lot of things that bother me about it. So, for instance, I wish Count Dooku. I was happy with the fact that it took Obi-Wan and Anakin together to try to like stand up to this guy, but the guy didn't seem like if it was Darth Maul. Yeah. They were fighting against Darth Maul, who looked the part, like of a really cool villain, and it took both of them fighting. That would have been way better to me. I would have like really enjoyed that.
Yeah, but they essentially took weighted turns to fight them, and they both got their ass kicked really fast.
Yeah, and but it'd be like,
which is Anakin's fault.
Well, that's Anakin's cockiness, I think, coming through. Like he thinks he's so great, but then he gets his arm cut off.
Which I liked all that aspect of it, but it's just the villain just didn't hold up to that standard to me.
No, well, because
it'd be like
they never gave him any.
The villain's poorly set up. You don't see him until like 75% of the movie, and the only thing people say about him is, oh, he's forming a thing to get people to leave the Republic. Like you don't know anything about him really.
Yeah.
So he's not built up properly. Darth Maul is a little bit better built up because you see him earlier in the movie.
Well, he's mysterious, and that's fine.
He's mysterious. You at least see him. He doesn't
know what he is.
Yeah, he doesn't have a character, but at least you see the threat early on. But Dooku is just like, yeah, I'm here.
But just, I mean, more of it in his fighting style too. Like, so it's like in A New Hope, the lightsaber fight scene with Obi-Wan and Vader, like that type of bad fighting. It felt like that coming from Palpatine, whereas everyone else was doing really good stuff. And so it was like he was very easily defending against all of this, some of the best Jedis.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, it just felt a little flat.
Going to that, though, was one of the things I didn't like about the fight was when Yoda showed up.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
I don't like it because he's literally just flipping around for the sake of flipping around. If he was nimble in that to give him some kind of advantage where he was going against someone who was actually a good, like, swordsman,
right, like a rapier or like a fencing
who
sword.
was actually besting him in swordplay, and he had to maneuver by these flips and that. I think I would appreciate it much more. But it's literally he's just jumping back and forth over.
It goes again. Yoda to me is more
force
about
wizard?
wisdom. Yeah, more about wisdom and stuff. When as you'd think like he's gonna like plan through the attack, instead it's just like It's just
oh God! Oh,
see, it's just all flash to try to like startle you.
yeah, just like the movie.
But like that's opposite. That's like someone who doesn't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like imagine someone who's like I'm going back to UFC and MMA fighting, but someone who is a really good fighter. The high level fighters, they're not just going in crazy and swinging their arms. Whereas the low level fighters, that's what they do because they don't have anything better. Like in a street fight, the guy just comes in slapping. Sometimes wins because it's overwhelming. But the someone who knows what they're doing, they're just gonna stand back and let all that happen, and then you know.
I like the scene beforehand, before they fight, where they're just like flexing their force powers.
Yeah.
To me, Yoda he shouldn't even fight with a sword. He should just be like, he's just so good with the force, he doesn't need to fight, and then you don't get those awkward fight scenes. Like that, it should have been that.
Yeah.
But the movie builds it up like you're finally gonna get to see Yoda with the lightsaber. It's like I never wanted to see that because
It reminded me of like a June bug attacking a light, like a window.
Yeah.
It's just like
There's a lot of people who like the way he fights, and I don't. I'll say it. I don't like the way he fights.
I don't.
It's also like even with the Darth Maul stuff in Phantom Menace, like that's all people doing really good choreography. Then you have Christopher Lee fighting something that clearly isn't there.
Yeah.
Kind of takes me out of it too. So.
One of the things about the fight, it's probably the only little bit of fan service that I like, was showing Anakin's arm get cut off, because then it goes back. It's like that's
the arm in Return of the Jedi. That's the one he cuts off.
Yeah. So
it's kind of neat. Yeah.
And it was like done subtle enough that you know what I mean? As subtle as cutting someone's arm off.
Yeah. I guess. I mean.
One thing we jumped over, I forgot to mention. One scene in particular that reminded me of like the bad graphics of San Andreas, the movie I talked about earlier. When Padme jumps off the pillar onto the back of the beast.
Yeah.
And it was like a 50-foot drop, and she just.
Yeah, she doesn't have the force like the others to cushion her too.
Yeah, that would have just split her in half. Like that's a bad.
She's
imagery.
a senator. You can do that when you're a senator.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
But that type of thing, just those are the types of things that just throw me from the movie. Like I have a hard time believing that sort of thing. I can get past most, unbelievable stuff, but that was pretty unbelievable.
So we're making pretty good time, so we should probably start wrapping it up.
The clicking guy, the guy who's doing the clicking language at the Coliseum. What was that? I liked it, but I didn't know.
I don't remember him.
Like you mean
his language was like
he was one of the Geonosians.
Yeah, but it was just like I'm trying to. I wrote basically. I like the language of the clicking guy, announcer for the Coliseum. Like it was a different language.
So it added more world building.
Yeah. I don't think I noticed that because it was still like, because right before that, this is the part where Padme is like, "I love you." I'm still like, what? Like I'm still trying to process that, or I'm like, why?
Kyle doesn't realize he fell down for 15 minutes. And what?
Oh, I realized. I did lay down. I think I had to pause the movie,
I gotta lay down.
which sucked because I was recording clips for when I edit this.
You should have a GoPro in your room when you're watching these movies. Just in like a time lapse of it, be like, get up and like all frustrated and throwing something and sitting back down and be like, why would they do that?
That's how I actually do watch movies. Yeah. If the movie I don't like, I usually pause it, stand up. I'm like, what were they thinking?
He rage quits movies.
I don't know. I don't rage quit movies. I watch the whole thing, but
He rage pause movies.
Yeah, I rage pause movies. That just gives myself some time to breathe and can figure it out.
So another bad Padme scene when she fell out of the ship and like just these ships were flying through and she just falls. Is there something I'm missing? Like does she have special powers?
She landed on sand. You ever land on sand?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really comfortable.
It's coarse.
But so she's
and
like
rough and gets everywhere.
So she's practically dead, laying there, and then at the end she just gets up. Okay, what it was just like nothing happened. Like you think she broke her back and she's gonna have to be stretchered out, and she just gets up and continues. She has healing powers. And
she should have said that when she met up with Anakin. It's like, oh, I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and gets everywhere. Do you see where I landed?
I don't like sand now either. It gets up your butt crack when you fall off one of the dunes. Yeah, no, I can see. Coolest thing of the entire movie. I think we're all going to agree on this.
I don't know.
Jango Fett's sound effect with the blaster thing. The I don't know what it was called.
I
Was
thought
it
you were.
like a
I thought
mine
you were
or-
going to say his armor.
The sonic.
The sonic blast
detonator or whatever.
Just that whatever that was. That sound effect is really cool.
Sound effect is cool. The idea of the bomb is like
Oh, that was
a little bit overpowered. I think it was like destroying asteroid fields, but
and not affecting him. He wasn't that far. Like blasts don't like slowly build out either. Like
I feel like it was all like for fan service of Boba fans.
yeah, that's the only reason he's in the movie.
But
Any of
it's
them.
like it was kind of cool to see like this is like because you don't see Boba use any of his stuff. So this was like you got to see the ship flying. You
Yeah.
got to see him use the rocket pack and
Yeah,
the
I
jetpack
do want to
and all.
say I really like Jango Fett's armor. I think I like it more than Boba Fett's.
But is there any difference besides just the color?
I like the silver and the blue highlights. Like I just like that.
yeah, I didn't mind it.
Yeah.
I didn't really particularly enjoy the fight scene between him and Obi.
It was a little slapsticky.
It was a little bit.
Here we go again.
Boom, 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 and he just kept blowing him back.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
five. You gotta cut to that. There's like five
Wait,
or six times
are
he's
you
just
talking about the
constantly blown
ship
back
or when they fight on the rain planet?
when they fight on the rain planet.
Okay, yeah, because there's a moment where it's like, oh, this isn't good. Like it's very like buddy cop kind of.
Yeah, it was like.
And
he
when
blasts him, and it's like an explosion right in front of Obi, and he falls back. Another one, and he falls back a little bit more.
And when
Yeah.
Obi
So, like-
swings with the
They have the grappling hook thing.
Yes,
Yeah,
that was
Oh,
a
yeah.
little bit.
yeah.
Yeah, and catching himself on a line. Do you know how that would rip through your hands? Like,
Yeah.
I guess the Force. I will say I am looking forward to the next movie, and
But yeah.
I think I was more interested with this movie. I was more entertained than any of them so far, but I wouldn't say I like it the most.
okay.
You know what I mean? Like it was.
It's very flawed.
It's very flawed, but like visually, the dialogue was okay. Like I guess maybe I just saw the romance a little differently than other people. For some, like the way I saw it was a creepy guy.
That's how other people see it.
No, but like, I guess it's kind of like if a movie has a rape scene in it, does that make it bad? Because it's a terrible thing. You know what I mean?
It depends on
because
what- it depends on the
because
intent
the
of the
romance is
filmmakers.
creepy doesn't mean it's necessarily bad.
Yeah, I
Because
guess
it
it's
draws an
intent.
emotion.
It's intent,
It's
and I
intent.
think George Lucas wanted this to be like a really like Shakespearean love story.
So if that's truly the case, the guy's an idiot. But if that's not the case and he meant what I was picturing, I thought it was well done.
I
Not
going
well
with
done.
Kyle on this, where that's like
what
it's
his
probably
intent was.
it is probably documented that he said.
There's probably somewhere, and like I don't want to read any more about this movie. I'm never watching this movie again. I don't think after this.
Is that your concluding thoughts on it, or
Yeah, well, this and Phantom Menace, I'm never gonna watch again because they're not fun, and I don't enjoy them. So why would I watch them again?
I'm gonna watch the whole series over again when it's done.
Sure,
think? Yeah.
but
I think I just wanna see
yeah.
it
But
again
I've seen these
for what it
multiple
is.
times. I'm like,
Yeah.
they're not gonna get any better for me. So I'm just why make myself miserable? I guess.
yeah. Watching this movie, parts where I'd get bored and stuff, I'd be thinking, I wish I was watching the original trilogy.
Yeah, I felt that too.
Which is not something I've ever felt before, but it's, yeah, I just really enjoy the original trilogy a lot more.
Yeah, I feel
now.
that in all the prequels. I'm like, I'd rather just watch like Return of the Jedi right now.
Return of the Jedi was actually the one that I feel like this movie made me think of. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know why either.
So
But yeah. So
So
next,
I am looking forward to the next movie though.
it's the best one.
that would be my expectations for it
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
Maybe we shouldn't tell you anything. Let you build them yourself, but too late.
Are we doing a proper sign off? Do you think we?
What?
No.
No, I'm just gonna.
I think we should do a callback.
I'm gonna go drink all that booze.
Let's go cut off our arms.
I'm gonna drink all that booze in Chad's fridge.
Okay. Good.
You know what I really hate? Sand.
Sand.
It's wrong with boards. You guys are everywhere.